Aloha, everybody. Welcome and hi to today's stream. Template Ask Me Anything. So this is going to be quite a while, and this is getting nerdy and dirty today. So we are going to talk about my current template. So let me first check what we have. Can't watch it now. Want to stream about it template. Wait for 6 months to see it. Well, this hopefully will get onto YouTube afterwards. So if you can catch it now, you can always catch it later. Anyway, so this is the current template. Actually, I downsized, so I'm close to 1K tracks at the moment. And yeah, this is what it looks like. Very tidy. It doesn't stay that way. And before we jump in, I would suggest, I posted a track like 2 days ago, template test, and I will want to just do a quick play through this so that we know what it hear what it sounds like, and then we actually want to go into very much the details of how it's set up and what I've done there. And since it's an AMA, you can of course ask questions, and I try my best to answer them as good as I can. So here's a little track that I wrote like 2 days ago, trying out the template. And it's a style that I'm working on right now anyway, so just want to show it. Screen, please. Yeah, of course. There you go. There we have the nice and tidy screen. I'm that random, don't know nothing about composing anyway, but going to stay. Okay. Did I not mention that we can win a library? Yeah, good question. I haven't talked about that. I would have talked about that looking into the template. But since you ask anyway, yes, there will be a giveaway today. And a really good one, to be honest. I mean, all the giveaways are good ones. Who doesn't like free stuff, right? But today, we're happy to have on board Audio Imperia. And you can actually win a copy of Jaeger, their orchestral library. So that's pretty much a huge giveaway. And here's the link for you lovely folks to comment on. And now I can say, as usual, at the end of the stream, we are going to take a look at the random comment picker and do a giveaway there. So just posting for the guys over on Twitch as well, because this multi-stream thing doesn't work really as it should. Anyway, yeah, one of you guys has a chance to win Jaeger today. Thanks to Audio Imperia. I will also post a link to their website, just so you can check out all the other stuff. I have a lot of Audio Imperia stuff in my template. So go over to the website, check it out, and one lucky guy or girl will win Jaeger today. So, did it work with the Twitch comment? And why are there no comments here? Because the chat is disabled. There we go. Now we can see the chat. I can afford a Jägermeister too. Okay, that's great. Cool. So we have the giveaway sorted. This is going to happen today. We have the stream topic for today, and I'm just having trouble accessing Twitch right now. So if someone can please post the Facebook link there, or maybe I can do it now. There we go. That was the Audio Imperia link. And one more try. There we go. This is the link for Facebook. Anyway, back to topic. Here's the little track that I did 2 days ago. Give it a listen. That's a nice little track. I like it. Hope you like it too. So, since we are talking about template and nerdy stuff today, I want to do it the other way around and kind of start from the back and go to the front. So pretty much start with the main output and the final groups. So there's a, let me open up. Give me piano, please. Piano man. Okay, so we have sound. And actually, let's switch on the monitoring in case we switch the channel. So, back to topic. So what we see here is pretty much my final stemming system. So whenever I send something off to a publisher or whoever I do a track for and they ask for stems, this is pretty much what they get. So we have a stem for strings, brass, woodwinds, keys, synth, guitars, bass, vocals, percussion, drums, sound effects, and tonal sound effects. We will get into this in a second, what this all means. There is not much processing going on in the final groups. The most or the majority of processing happens actually before the final stems. There happens a little bit stuff here on the brass track. By the way, I will show some of the stuff that I do in terms of mixing the individual channels and the individual instruments, but I highly, highly, highly recommend to check out the link that I have down below in the description of the video of the orchestral mixing course. It's just freaking great and totally useful if you have this kind of template and want to work with that and want to work like just write and export and good. So not do, I personally like to combine mixing and writing, so I don't want to write, then export, and then mix. I want to have it all in one and be ready to go with the track that I've written. So, nevertheless, this is the final groupings. And I took this tier system. Jason Graves did some awesome Cubase and V Pro tutorials on how he has set up his template, and I took a lot of that from there. So the grouping in the end has a 3-tier system. So the last tier with a marked with the 3 pluses, I will talk about this in a little bit, what this means. This is my final stemming. So for example, when a client asks not for strings, but for strings separated into short and long. So there's a second tier. Let me get rid of the third one here, where I have subgroups separated. So strings high short, strings high long, low short, low long, ensemble strings long, ensemble strings short. Then we have brass high low ensemble, woodwind high low ensemble, other woodwinds. So pretty much the same that we have in the tier 3, but spread out. So the percussion stem, for example, is divided into subs, low, mid, high, metal, cymbals, other percussion, tonal percussion. Tonal percussion actually needs to get this color. Then we have all the sound design and trailer stuff, hits, short hits, booms, downers, etc. This all goes to the sound effects stem in the end. But usually when I do, for example, render out something for a trailer house or for a trailer publisher, they want to have these separated. So for example, I can send the strings and the brass and the woodwinds and all that stuff, and the sound effects tier will be separated into the ones that I just showed you. So down here. And then last but not least, we have tier 1, which is kind of the summing of all the individual audio returns from VE Pro and other instruments and audio channels. We will look into that in a second. This would be pretty much when somebody asks for individual tracks for mixing, then they would get these kind of tracks. So they have all the different strings, violins, violas, cello, etc. And this goes out on tier 1. And even if I would need to separate that even more, so for example, I have Jaeger strings high short, low short, low long, high long, etc. If I would need to separate this into violins, violas, etc., I could go to the individual returns from Vienna Ensemble Pro and render this. So long talk, this is the grouping system that is set up. So when we look into the export window of Cubase, I could obviously render out the stereo, the master out. But when I do export multiple channels, and let's close this for now. So, and this is where all these pluses that we had on the channels come in handy. So I can filter down what I want to export. When I just want the final stemming, I just hit the 3 pluses, have all these grouped channels, mark them, and can mark these and export all the individual master stems. So, like I said, when a client says, okay, I need the string separated in high, long, high, short, etc., then I tick this off, take 1 plus off, and then add just the string groups for the export. So now I don't have the strings final bus, but have them separated into these 6 sub-buses. And just for the sake of doing it, when they ask for a separation of the high long strings, then I can say, okay, export Jaeger and Metropolis Arc and CSS high long. So then I have just these long strings. So you get the idea. This is pretty much the way it's set up, so that whatever is demanded for the client, I can do it all within the same session and with only 1 click to export. So this is the tier system. And also, by the way, let's get that out of the way in the beginning, reverb. The reverb is pretty much only included in the tier 3. So it's routed in a way. I have my effect returns for each different group. So I have a string return, and since I have them separated into long and short, I actually even wouldn't have needed to do it, but I do it anyway. So it's the same reverb pretty much, but just for the long and for the shorts. Brass reverb, woodwind reverb for guitars, choir, percussion reverb, tonal percussion reverb. There will be more stuff added. I'm not entirely finished with the template yet. I'm nearly done. And Studio looks awesome. Thanks so much, mate. Appreciate it. And these are routed to the final tier. So when I export the tier 2, it actually contains no reverb. This is intentionally because usually when I export this portion, it is for further mixing, etc. So usually people don't want to have the reverb included in this. What else? Which reverb? Obviously, that's oftentimes a question. So I'm using a mixture of Verb Suite Classics by Stephen Slate, mostly the Boston Hall A, because it just sounds freaking awesome. I also use what else do we have? Right now, there's only Verb Suite Classic, but I also have the Seventh Heaven from Liquid Sonics. That works well too. Right now in this one I have the Verb Suite Classics because it just fit the sound better. And that's pretty much it in terms of reverb. So each stemming group has its own reverb. So I'm missing out on the sound effects reverb here, and that's it pretty much. And maybe the synth and piano reverb. Actually, let's do that right now because I wanted to do another reverb for the keys. So I just duplicate this, name it keys reverb, take all the same settings, but send it to the final keys stem. So there we go. And now when I go to the piano, for example, so now I can send it to keys reverb, let's say -10. That's a very short reverb because the guitars have a room on it. I don't want that, so let's change the reverb here. Yeah, I have a large room for the guitars. So we want to go with a hall, with the Boston Hall A. Okay, there we go. And now we don't need as much. So in the sense, we can keep it down to like -10. Okay, that works. Why can't you use only one reverb for all instruments? Because that doesn't work for rendering purposes. So when I render out and want to have the reverb baked into the stems, so for the strings, for the brass, individually, then you need a dedicated reverb per stem section. Otherwise, I would need to render out the stems and an individual reverb channel extra, and then these stems will be dry and the reverb would be extra. But to print all the stems at the same time, you can't work with one reverb, but need to have one specific reverb for every single stem, so to say. Hope this clears it up a little bit. So, I think I get the gain staging process. I have to get back to work, but if you could talk about your levels, would be great. We'll definitely do that, Raymond. Have fun at work. And I will. So this is pretty much the final routing and reverbs and things like that. So we can close this and have a look at the MIDI tracks. So this is MIDI only. As you can see right now, we are on around about 600 tracks. And this is where, by the way, cheers coffee. Iga, what does the AMA stand for? AMA stands for Ask Me Anything. So this is not just a nerdy template walkthrough and talk about it, but you can also, of course, ask your questions and feel free to shoot with whatever questions you have. We will go into all the libraries that are in the template right now in a little bit. Till then, I will give this track another play because I just need to head outside for a second and don't want to leave you in silence, so we can take another listen to the track. Maybe we can. Yeah, let's do this. Let's open all the folders. There we go, and then only show the data with, the tracks with data between the locators. So by the way, I'm getting more and more used to my Stream Deck. I just love it, especially when Cubase is set up the way it should be. Let me know if you need a dedicated walkthrough on this. I will see if I can do something about it and show you how it's set up. So I just love Cubase's visibility features. So this is all the tracks that are used right now in this particular track. So I would just give it another playthrough and you can take a look. Maybe? No, you can't? Well, you can. So there we go. So let's do... Someone asked about the ethnic stuff, so let's show the ethnic section. I give it a play. We'll be back in a minute, so enjoy. Okay, so you let's go into the question. I forgot one thing, two things actually. So first things first, obviously, just a quick reminder, we are giving away a copy of Audio Imperia's Jaeger today. So here's the link again, just leave a comment and we will do a random drawing by the end of the stream to pick one lucky winner who actually gets Audio Imperia's Jaeger library. So right now we are at 23 comments, so chances are good. Don't tell anybody about it. That raises your chances of winning. By the way, we're talking about this beautiful thing here, Jaeger new version 1.2. We take a look at it because I have a lot of stuff of Jaeger in the template, so we take a look at this. What is the string instrument like the Wild West sound? We will get into this in a little bit. Let me look at this. Okay, the other thing that I forgot is actual distribution. So what kind of system I'm using right now. So my main system is custom built, so to say, a Ryzen Threadripper 1950X 16-core processor with 64 gigabytes of RAM. So right now we are utilizing 50. I'm actually waiting for BMI next week. I hope to upgrade this one to 128 in a little bit to just have a little bit more room to load stuff. And so this is the master system, and then I am using my old PC as a slave. And this one is an i7 3930K. It's from, I think, 2012. So it's already pretty old, but still good enough to work as a slave. Also with 64 gigs of RAM. Right now using 31 gigabyte here. 25, sorry. And so this hosts a bunch of samples, but right now this is only there for Metropolis Arc. And I only did the strings and the brass there, so no woodwinds and stuff for now. And last but not least, we also have my second slave, which is kind of my mobile rig. So my laptop. This one is an i7 7700 at 4.2 gigahertz, also with 64 gigabytes of RAM, and yeah, a bunch of samples hosted in here. And this also hosts a coupled instance of the Dulcimer Pro, which means this is coupled with each project that I'm working on, because I wanted to outsource things like Omnisphere and Synth, some stuff that I regularly use. So this is not loaded within CUBASE. Right now there's only one instrument that I have actually loaded in the project. All the other stuff, even when it changes on a track-per-track basis, one coupled instance of the Dulcimer Pro always loads the correct sounds that I had in the certain project. So, without further ado, let's actually jump straight in. And let me show you something about how this is set up with the Stream Deck here. So, obviously, when I show all tracks, that's gonna be a lot of scrolling around to go where you need to go, especially when you kind of, say you're working on some spiccato violins or something. The piano is still on, sorry about that. As you can see, that's what happens when you need to scroll down and down and down. So let's switch this off. Let me just take a look at the mixer. Why are we so loud? Something's wrong here. I need to check something for a second, because I'm wondering why there is no so Just reading through the comments here. Getting more and more. How do you... So... I missed out on some comments here. So the PCs are actually connected through Ethernet. Yes, right. I have a little switch there where actually that's just my Wi-Fi router, and that one happens to have 4 RC49 port, RJ49 ports, or so Ethernet ports, and this is where all the PCs are hooked up and communicate with each other. How much do you use the Stream Deck? I'm thinking of buying one for Cubase. I love it, actually. I just need to force myself because kind of I have an internal muscle memory for the key commands on the keyboard. So I don't think about it pretty much when I'm working, so it just happens automatically, like driving a car. At some point you don't think about it anymore. So I really have to force myself a little bit to go onto the Stream Deck, but once I kind of got around it, it's really, really convenient. I will show you in a minute how it works with going through the template and audio editing and things like that. Have you heard about the new Stream Deck API? Yeah, I've heard about that, but didn't look into. So I'm not a developer. So, but if somebody comes up with things, I appreciate it. So you have one main instance of VE Pro that then loads, plays whatever all the instruments you load into your session. Ask me because it always looks like the plugins are actually indeed loaded directly into Cubase. So VE Pro only hosts the samples. The mixing process happens inside Cubase. I was thinking about having it differently and putting the mixing into VE Pro directly to even free up more room for Cubase to actually do the heavy lifting. But I find it more convenient to have it inside Cubase and inside the mixer. So usually when I work, not sure if you can see it from the big screen, usually my mixer is on top on the TV here, and whatever I need in terms of mixing, I can do right there. So for the purpose of the stream, obviously we need to bring the mixer down here so you can see it. But overall, this is what I am doing. So also from a compositional point of view, how does having so many tracks help? I don't believe the human ear can actually catch all these sounds. Well, it never happens that you utilize all these 600 tracks at the same time. I just like to have, and actually it's also spread out because I went back from key switching instruments back to single articulation channels and MIDI, so that I have all the different articulations. So, what about the naming scheme of the tracks regarding those prefixes, CS, etc.? I will talk about this in a little moment. This is pretty much necessary to give me a second. To configure the visibility features in Cubase. So when I bring this down to where it actually should be, just want to make sure that we have this all clean and small. There we go. Okay. Back to topic. So, and I actually like to have my selected track a little bit enlarged. Naming scheme. So all these letters in front of the channels, and we will look into all the instruments that I'm utilizing and which libraries I have in my template. We will talk about that. And maybe we will talk about more about the naming scheme here. But overall, these little brackets before each track name are identifiers. And let's talk about this a second. So Cubase has a logical editor, which is very, very convenient for organizing the visibility of a template. You just need to keep in mind when you want to have want to address which channels to display, you need an identifier per channel. So let's look at this. The visibility, let's take the group A thing. So we see group A for me is my high strings. So everything violin, violin 2, viola. This is high strings, or sometimes even ensemble high strings. Are you happy with the audio performance meter at around 70% constantly, or is it the streaming putting extra strain on the system? It's pretty much both. As I've said, I'm looking into kind of getting a little bit system load away from Cubase into VE Pro. So for example, like EQing and doing other stuff inside VE Pro, not in Cubase. But it works, and the Cubase meter is not keep in mind that it's not the same as the actual performance meter of the CPU. So the CPU is sitting at around 40% right now with the 16 cores, and so this indication in Cubase is a little bit demanding. Also worth mentioning, I have let's look at this. I have the ASIO guard activated on normal, but there is an issue to be aware of with Vienna Ensemble Pro and the audio guard in Cubase. So what you need to do is actually jump into the plugin manager, into the VST instruments, Vienna Ensemble Pro, and disable the ASIO guard for Vienna Ensemble Pro. That way you can still utilize it with big templates. So back to the naming scheme. So as I've said, all the groups here have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc. in the front. So and for example, I have a Project Logical Editor preset, which is apparently named Show Group A, so everything that has an A in front. And the identifier is pretty much, so every track which name contains bracket A bracket and disable high track. I will explain that in a second why. So pretty much what I have set up is macros. So what happens with the visibility in Cubase, let me show the macros. So there's a macro for show group A. And this macro has the following. The first step is hide all. So this macro, when it's executed, hides all tracks. The next step is show group A. So as you remember from the Project Logical editor that we just had open, every track with the name A in it, unhide, so show it. And then there's just another thing of open all folders. So when I open that, it opens all folders. In the end, what happens? We have all the tracks open now. Let me bring. I show you that with one command after the other. So the first thing that happens in the macro is that it does hide all. This command is every track and folder track, hide, enable. If I do apply, then everything is hidden. The next command that is executed by the macro is show, let's say, group A. So show group A, every track that contains bracket A bracket in the name, hide track disable, apply. So now it shows only all the tracks that have A in there. And sometimes it happens that these folders are closed depending on where I was working at. So the last command that is happening is open all folders. So folder track, open. So now it opens all the folder tracks. So these are the three commands that happen in the macro. I have these macros for every single group, and on my Stream Deck, or you can also see this here, the macros all have key commands attached. In this case, it's pretty convenient. So Control, Alt, Shift, and A shows Group A. So, and this is consistent. And in the Stream Deck, I can configure these key commands to single buttons. So right now, I can jump to Show All Strings. Maybe I can show this. Do you see this? Let me switch to this. So there are different buttons according to the color of the template, by the way. Then I hit Show All Brass, for example. Then it shows me all the brass tracks. Show me all the woodwinds. It shows me all the woodwinds. So woodwinds, for example, have G, H, and I as an identifier. I for ensemble. I don't have any ensembles in here. That's why it's not working yet. And so I have the groups, and I can also go and just show the individual groups. High strings, show me low strings, show me just the ensemble strings, show me just the low woodwinds, for example. Show me just the percussion. So all these single buttons on the Stream Deck trigger these macros inside Cubase with a key command. And back to topic, when I hit Show All, it's actually defined in a way that it only shows the MIDI tracks and not the audio returns and group tracks. These are extra. So I would need to activate them down here. Where are we? So we have the VST instruments, and we have the stem groups. Come on. There we go. So right now, this is the returns from Vian Ensemble Pro, and these are the group tracks. So in terms of returns from Vian Ensemble Pro, this is pretty self-explanatory. I try to have it as consistent as possible, and also with the different developers. Just reading through the question, Polygraph wrote, I have a question about VE Pro. Since we use instruments in VE Pro that do not change from track to track and stay, there's some issues that appears. What to do with a lot of parameters in contact libraries due either different from library to library? I remember that you decided to control mic positions via MIDI data, right? I will talk about that in a little bit. Included a MIDI clip before the cue starts, but how to deal with other parameters? Do not use that at all? Pretty much yes. So the only way around it to streamline this is to actually edit your libraries to react to the same controllers if you want to control stuff like that. So for example, let's talk about it's funny enough, I don't have any single Spitfire library in here right now. And I'm using the stereo position from the Cinematic Studio String, so I can talk about the mic positions. But when you utilize mic position, what I also have set up in the Stream Deck is all my MIDI controls. So this area down here, I can switch to velocity, modulation and expression. Show me the expression maps, the mic mix. This is what Polygraph was just writing about. So if I want to control Spitfire, for example, the close, tree, overhead, etc., are always 22 till 25, these mic positions. And I actually kind of streamlined all my libraries to react to the same controllers. So whenever I have a library available that has mic positions, I can utilize these 3 controllers. Actually, I can show it to you. So let me close this and go to one of my ethnic percussion libraries. So let's take the... Doesn't matter in the end. So, and let me bring up the instrument, which should be located here. So this is world percussion. There we go. So now you see here we have 4 mic positions, and these mic positions are all linked to CC22, 23, 24, 25. And this is the same for all MIDI instruments. So whatever MIDI instrument I'm on in Cubase, on my complete control, I have actually 2 pages of MIDI controllers, and the second page is, you can see this right now. So there is, I try this. There's a page with MIDI controllers, and I can even show the mixer in Cubase and mix from here, but right now I only want to do the MIDI controllers. And on the second page, let me bring this back to normal and actually go back to the Cubase window. Sorry. So just want to show I have these controllers, and with these controllers I can control the mic positions. And I have set this up for pretty much every library that I have. So when I want a more dry mix, then I can just bring down the room mics, for example, and just bring it back to normal here. And this pretty much works for all the other libraries that utilize microphone position. There are a bunch of libraries where I only use the stereo position, so that doesn't apply there. But for the ones that do use the mic positions, I can then have a little MIDI event in the track. How long did it take to put the template together? Well, it's an ever ongoing process. So you can't say I started building templates long ago and over time it evolved and there were new techniques that you discovered, and you can't really say how long. Usually I did kind of the same template without the mic controlling things in the libraries for a friend of mine. And we've been working for pretty much 2 days straight, and then the template is completely good to go. So can we switch back to the screen view? We did that. So Stream Deck does not transmit MIDI, right? Only key commands. Yes, it only transmits key commands. Have you ever had an issue with contact libraries where the file names are too long for Windows? No. Never had an issue with that, to be honest. No. Can't say that I had an issue with that. RAM, exactly, yeah. 2 days setting up the template, but then it's running like butter. So one little reminder for you guys that joined in later, we will do a giveaway of Audio Imperia's Jaeger today. So you can jump onto this little Cubase, yeah, Facebook chat. Right now we have 42 entries to win this library. And let's go back to here. And don't worry, we will start writing something in this template as well. Have you tried Metagrid for iPad? No, I haven't. I do use my iPad with Touch OC for controlling libraries like, for example, Cinematic Studio Strings. So I I can also show this if you want to see it. So the iPad has kind of the articulation controls. So for the libraries that still utilize key switching, so I have still some libraries that are not separated into single single instruments like the others, like Metropolis Arc, etc. But this one uses key switches only separated by long and short. And I can either switch the articulation when I go into the channel and okay, now we have it open already. If I have the expression maps and then choose the sound that I want. So for example, here I want to have trills, then I have trills, or I can switch it to tremolo or standard legato. But I can also trigger it from the touch OSC control. So this works as well. Polygraph asks, but what do you do with all the other parameters which libraries developers provide to us? For example, Jaeger has vibrato controller and velocity curve. I don't control the velocity curve in Jaeger. This is set up straight as it is and I don't change it. Vibrato is on CC2 and I have CC2 attached. So I just record CC2 for the longs actually. So if I want to control vibrato, and this is well 21, not 2, sorry. So most developers are pretty consistent that vibrato is either CC2 or CC21, and all the other stuff I pretty much don't use. Because I just feel I don't need it. So I just need the controls, as I've shown already here in the lanes. What I use is obviously velocity, modulation and expression, expression maps, microphone mix, volume, which is CC7, which is the same as this controller here. So, but obviously I need to change it in the MIDI if I want to have it consistent when I open up a track based on the template that is loaded. That's a little bit complicated, but you get the point. So, I forgot to include the vibrato control there, so I can utilize that as well. So for example, with cinematic studio strings, vibrato is on CC2, so I have that one here. So, and this is the same as, pretty much the same as using mod wheel. So if I control the dynamics with mod wheel or CC2 for the vibrato. So it doesn't matter in the end. So I don't need to change anything on the contact interface. Everything is happening in MIDI. And the same applies to mixing. So I pretty much do not touch the actual audio faders, the returns from VN Ensemble Pro. All my mixing, and let me bring back all the tracks. And just the ones with data. So there are two steps where I set the volumes for my tracks and mix, so to say. One is this little slider here, which is the same as when you put a CC7 controller into the MIDI data. So CC7 is volume and it controls the actual contact volume slider. So this is where I set my volume. Sometimes I don't even touch the CC11 the CC07, but use CC11 expression. So there's a lot of libraries that utilize there are two ways possibly to alter the volume, not the modulation or different dynamic layers, which most libraries do via mod wheel. Like for example, let's take the Metropolis Arc low strings. So when I wiggle the mod wheel, oh, forgot to switch the screen. Sorry. There we go. So, there are two ways to control volume. Again, let me show the mixer. So I don't utilize, or nearly not utilize the actual audio faders in Cubase, but controlled in the MIDI. So right now, you see this is set at 96, and when we look at the slave, by the way, if you're wondering, the audio has a little bit more to do with the streaming. So if there are little clicks and pops, they are usually not there, but right now they are. So we have the low longs here. So, and when I move this fader in Cubase, and this is for each and every single channel available. Now it gets softer because it turned down this contact slider here, the volume slider. So when I bring that back to 96, we see that the contact slider is back at -7. So, and the other thing, within the MIDI itself, if I don't want to alter, let's put this back to 100 here. The other thing that I can do is utilize CC11. So CC11 is kind of an independent controller from CC07, from the volume slider in Contact. This is really where you can, for most of my libraries, I can write in the volume and automation in the track itself without touching any fader or knob. So when I see just so when I feel that I need more movement or something in the volume, or want to do a fade in or whatever, then I could just write an automation on expression. And that way, I don't need to touch any single fader in Cubase. So right now, let's bring this back to 100, 127. So utilizing full volume there. Hi from Buenos Aires. Back hi to Buenos Aires from Los Angeles. And so that way, I don't need to touch the faders in Cubase. And whatever I do, my template always stays the same, and all the mixing in terms of volume balancing is done within the MIDI, not in Cubase itself. So when we take a listen again to this little cue, I actually let it run. We'll be back in a second. and so on and so forth. So, little reminder there, we still have a raffle going, so if you want to grab your chance of winning, just comment on this Facebook post and get a chance to win Audio Imperia's Jaeger sample library. We are at, let me check it, 50 comments already. So, let me pick up where we were. Does your template start with all samples already loaded fully, or does it start purge? It's all loaded fully right now. So, damn, I'm late. Hi. Did you ever use a hand controller for dynamics? For example, like audio, hot hand, or leap motion? What's your opinion on breath controllers? If you can, I had a breath controller back in Germany. Kind of broke the rubber pipe that went to the USB. Anyway, I'm no brass player, so I tried it, but wasn't too happy with my results. But they definitely have their place. Leap motion, I haven't had one. I was looking into one. Maybe we'll try that out. But right now, I'm actually pretty happy. I'm kind of old-fashioned in terms of keyboard control, so I like to have my wheel for mod wheel and things like that. And I have an XY pad on my iPad where I can control modulation and expression at the same time. But other than that, maybe later. For now, no need to look into leap motion or similar stuff. How do you handle volume differences in libraries, and so know what is the volume reference to use? This is nothing that can be done with an initial click of a button and you set it just develops over time. So I think it has been a process of years of balancing everything and coming up with something that works. And it evolves over time. So there is no single way to do it. I mean, I've been doing that for quite a few years now, and it's just, you find your way around. There's no golden rule to go for. Overall, we will take a look at the mixer in a little bit when we look at the different sections of the template. But overall, you learn it over time. What's needed to balance. What's the main advantages of Stream Deck before Touch OC? Basically the haptics. I just like this press of a button type thing. And my Touch OC is now free for dedicated MIDI control and not for key switches. So that's the main difference there. What is your buffer setting? So I'm running right now on 512, I think. Yeah, 512. And that with my RME babyface, I have like a latency of around about 12 milliseconds. So I can play instantly. There is not really a noticeable lag from playing and record and playback. So before jumping into actually working with it and doing a little bit of music today, let's talk about the actual libraries that are in here. I get tons of questions. What libraries do you use? What do you have in your template? And how do you do things like this, things like that? So let's jump straight in. Obviously, one of my main go-tos for trailer stuff and things like that is actually Audio Imperia's Jaeger. So I'm kind of annoyed by the key clicks again from the keyboard on the mic. I wonder if there's a way if I can turn down the mic a little bit. Let me try this and still try to have a decent amount of volume for you guys. So if I turn this down a little bit, you should be still able enough to hear me, but the key clicks shouldn't be that audible. So I hope I'm still loud enough for you to understand me. By the way, with Jaeger, I do realize the lag that there is because these samples are set up to have a minus 63.5 track delay. We can see this in the actual instrument as well. And I haven't done this yet. What I would want to do is, for the sake of playing it live, actually put this sample start controller. You see it's minus 62.5. I actually would love to put it on a controller, whatever is not used yet, like CC8 or something. So when I do put it all the way to the right, so it's way more initial, the sample start, but I keep it at the default position because I like how it sounds. And they are still, so when you don't have this offset, they are way off. So you really need to be wary about how much offset your individual libraries have. Same for cinematic studio strings. So these, for example, have also a 60 millisecond offset in the charts. Same here, when you put this on 0, so definitely good to watch all your instrument and the offset that they have. So let's say, for example, and now let's go to an empty section here. Volume balancing. Let's hit some of the short notes. Maybe give me the expression map. Let's hit some of the short notes on the loudest velocity. So change the grid here to quarter notes. There we go. So this is the violin shorts spiccato, and we want to hit like and go to velocity and bring. So this is the loudest velocity. Make sure that my expression is all the way up. So this is the loudest that these shorts come out of VE Pro. Let's turn off the audio inserts for a second and look at the fader. That's already pretty loud. Usually I would orient on the individual channels to something like between minus 18 and minus 16 as a maximum in terms of gain staging. So let's take a look when we have the processing activated, how loud we get then. Okay, there we go. Somebody asked, I think, about how I process cinematic studio strings. So let's take a short look. This is, for example, the EQ for the violins. getting rid of all the low end that we don't need. Little dip here at this boxy frequency and taming the highs a little bit. When it comes to offset, is there a way to calculate what is accurately before adjusting by ear? Well, if you have a good library, you actually know the number because the developer gives it to you, like performance samples, where Oceania has like a minus 82 milliseconds track delay or something like that. They write it into the manual. On the Jaeger interface, you see how much it actually is. And for the ones that you don't know, I would always start like at minus 40 and adjust from there. And for the ones you don't know, there's no better way than doing it by ear. Or you can just render to audio and see in the audio waveform how far the transient is away from the grid. So that'd be another way. Well, that's very tedious for every single library, so you might be faster just adjusting it by ear. And then also on the violins here, I have another multi-band compressor that controls the frequency range a little bit and just compresses a little bit in this range to make them less boxy. So compare again without the processing and with the processing. There's a lot of nasality and low mid rumble that is taken out of the strings there. And before going into too much detail there, as I said in the beginning, I can highly recommend the orchestral mixing course that is linked below the video in the description. Head over there. For me personally, that's the best money I have spent in the last 2 years or something like that. So this course is just amazing in terms of getting your mixing straight. So back to topic. We wanted to talk about which libraries we actually have in the template. So let's go into the strings. We start off, as mentioned, with the Jaeger shorts. Ensemble spiccatos in case sometimes I start out with the ensemble and then distribute to the different sections later on. Then right now I only have the legatos or the sustains. I want to load the tremolos as well. Okay, there was a question. Which course? The orchestral trailer mixing by Joel Dolly. You can check it out here. I posted here as well. So there we go. Best thing that happened to me since starting mixing my own music, to be honest. And so we have the violas, which don't have legato yet. I know that it might be coming in an update. But they're there. So then we have the Jaeger cellos. And then also, by the way, I just realized, for the most part, we were talking about the reverb. I have a reverb for the short strings and for the long strings. And pretty much reverb is always set around something between -16, -14 to -10 to -8, depending on how wet I want the signal. So let's take the cello, for example. This is sitting at -12 right now. So the reverb is obviously at 100%, like every auxiliary reverb or effect should be. So this is only the wet signal on the reverb, and with this slider I decide how much I want to send into the reverb. And right now this cello, if I would put this to 0, that would pretty much parallel. So same volume signal into the reverb as the dry signal. Which is way too much, obviously. So for me, -12 is around the sweet spot to have them still up front, but enough room in there. And the shorts, for example, have a little bit less reverb because I like to have them a little bit more bitey. So, Craig, hey, nice to see you. Hope you're doing good. So then we have the double bass sustains, and also again the ensemble patch, just in case I want to do Complete Control Keys MK2. Do you use any of the features? Well, no, I just use it pretty much as a regular MIDI controller. What reverbs do you use and how do you go about mixing the different pre-delays? I pretty much use the Boston Hall from the Slate reverbs right now in this specific template. Could also be substituted with a Seventh Heaven, Bricasti reverb, or any other that you, even Valhalla Vintage Verb or something like that. And I don't fiddle around with any pre-delay settings in here. This is all set to 0. What differs is how the brass is treated. So when we look at the brass sections, I want to look at that later, but start for now. The brass stem. So let me bring this up. The first tier for the brass, which is down here. By the way, you could also put a plus in here, which gives you instant access to. You can search in the mix as well. So on the brass, I have only on the brass I have an insert, which is the Eventide stereo room. And let me turn off the reverb send for the trailer horns here. Let's take these. So I take the reverb off. So, and on the stem, I have this room. I switched this off. So this is what the brass sounds like out of contact. This is the setup like the brass sounds with I think it's a mixed mic position. So, and when I switch, just compare, when I switch this on and off, so this completely puts it a little bit back, the Eventide stereo room. Another trick that I got from the mixing course, by the way. And then I send this to the regular reverb that I have for the strings as well. So, and there you have the reverb sound for the brass. Back to the strings. So After Jaeger, we have Cinematic Studio Strings, which is for the most part my go-to for anything that is not in-your-face trailer riding. That was Marcato. And again, there's a little bit of processing going on. I showed that earlier. So when you listen to the strings as they come out of the box. Do you have any cool settings for the Seventh Heaven? When I used it, pretty much you could substitute. Let's try it. Let's solo the Jaeger here, for example. Bring in CSS as well. So this is just a short string section. And let's just switch out the reverb just so you hear the difference. We go to the reverbs. And again, sorry for any cracks and popples. This is just happening with the streaming going on at the same time. It's just a little bit demanding. So right now, as I said, I have the Verb Suite Classic Boston Hall A at 1.99 in the reverb. So that's with the reverb off. And when you use the Seventh Heaven, which you obviously could do, I would suggest to go for something like either the Boston Hall B, which is at 188 here. Check the other one. A little bit more wet than the Boston Hall B, or you go with a large hall 2.2, which sounds pretty cool as well. I like that one. Sounds a little bit more defined than the Slate Boston Hall. And by the way, after the reverb, I also have a low pass here to get rid of any rumble in the reverb. I actually like the Seventh Heaven more than the Slate one. Maybe I keep it there. Keep the Slate for the long strings and the Seventh Heaven for the shorts. Yeah, actually, let's do this. But I keep this in there for now to so let's see how this sounds. We haven't been to the grid here. So this is so Cinematic Studio Strings, and then again ensemble long and short. So for example, you already hear that this is way too loud. So what I would do here is to bring this down. And that could use a little bit more reverb, I think, because it's an ensemble. Compare that to Jaeger. So back then my old template even had more stuff. There was Spitfire chamber strings and Albion and all that stuff. But in the end, at some point you just need to decide what you really want to go with. And for me, Jaeger and Cinematic Studio Strings are enough of a difference to justify having them both in the template. So with Cinematic Studio Strings being more on the darker, mellower side, although they can be pretty bitey as well. And when I need more oomph, then I put on the Jaeger. I would even raise this a little bit. Can you show us how you use group tracks? Then you would just need to rewind the video and watch in the beginning, because I kind of did the other way around. I did the group tracks first, and I'm now on the individual tracks. So we talked about the group tracks already. So then I have pretty much all the Metropolis arcs in the template, because they are just gorgeous to work with. I have the feeling that something is off with my velocity setting. Can't play soft anymore suddenly. Let me check this. Okay. No matter how I hit the key, it's always at 127. So I must have done something. In the MIDI. So scaling. Let's see. So something's off with my keyboard here. So everything I do is 127. But well, keep on going. No, actually not keep on going. This sucks. Let me bring up my complete control and see if this is a setting that I've changed somehow. So where you happen to overrange something when there was too much component in the section that they hit out themselves. I mean, dissonance and undivision or whatever. It's a question of how you range things. I mean, obviously it can happen. Actually, I tried the Forte Nameless suite. I don't want to do it now. Craig is saying it's the one of the button next to the step input. Maybe I just messed something up here. Pitch, record note on velocity, step input. So let's see. Could we please get rid of... Okay, there we go. Let me check if there's something in the settings here. Nothing here. If anyone has an idea why my keyboard is only doing fixed velocity, I'm not sure if there's a button on the complete control that sets fixed velocity. I don't see it right now. So any help appreciated. So let me save this. If all goes wrong, turn it off and turn it on again. That's what we always say. Did you try turning it on and off again? Off and on again. So let's see if that works. It's still all on 127. Is Twitch saying anything about it? So there was one question: how do you correct different sound stages when combining different sample libraries? Do you EQ some mid and low mid frequencies in mid side, for example, or just take one joint reverb for the group tracks? Short answer: I don't. I just don't freaking care about putting them into the same sound stage, because usually when I use different libraries in a dance mix, no one actually cares if they're recorded in different rooms, because the information gets lost in a mix. Unless you do exposed chamber work or something like that, where you can hear different rooms that's being recorded in, then you definitely need to put more weight into it. But for example, with Jaeger and Cinematic, Jaeger is pretty dry in itself, but is recorded in a way bigger hall than Cinematic Studio Strings, which is a studio sound. But they're sent to the same reverb, maybe in various degrees or amounts. And in a mix, I at least don't care anymore about different rooms that it's been recorded in. I just care about frequencies and that they match each other and that they sound good together. So might not be the best answer there, but it's the one that I have. So again, let me check. We have the instance, we have the MIDI, we have the setup. In the setup, I can do linear, soft 1. So let me try this again. On soft 1. No. So it might be something with Cubase. So what I want to do is actually save this, close Cubase and restart it, which means I will be gone for a moment. Oh, come on. Save. So I'm going to quit Cubase and we'll be back in a minute. Till then, I will just post about the raffle and the giveaway. We'll be back in a second. So, we are back! And it wasn't the button. It wasn't the Cubase or the complete control. It was actually, there's a fixed velocity button that I didn't see I initially hit. Anyway, good thing is we now have restarted the template, which given with the stream is actually good because stream is kind of demanding on the CPU with the template and all the stuff. Anyway, we are back on topic. We are running again, and let's quickly check out where we are at with a giveaway. So, as I said, we are giving away a copy of Audio Imperia Jaeger today. This is the post. Just let me check it here and show you that everything is as it should be. So, this is the post from today, and we right now have 65 entries. So, good chance for any one of you guys to win Audio Imperia's Jaeger. If you haven't yet, you can leave your comment here. As I always say, only comment once, but it doesn't matter because duplicates will get filtered anyway. Maybe you can use your fiance's or partner's account to do a second entry, whatever. You can't really cheat on that. So just leave your comment and we pick one random winner. Back to topic. So we were talking about Jaeger and CSS for the main strings for the full sections. And then we have the Metropolis Arc series. Oh, we have velocity. So, and these are set up for the different patches, so no key switches. So it's pretty much Metropolis 1, 2, and 3 in this section, and then we have Metropolis Arc 4, as this is a kind of special sound with smaller sections. So Metropolis Arc 4, we did a stream on that, and also had a winner for that library actually. So it's all there, just waiting to push the keys. Indeed it is. So, thanks for this live. You're welcome. Appreciate it. So then, after all the Metropolis Arc section, we have some solo strings, which is the Berlin Strings First Chairs. Again, with all the individual patches. Then we need to hurry up a little bit, otherwise we will be sitting here still tomorrow. And just on a side note, what I usually or oftentimes do is when I have, let's say, a little section with, let's take the violin shorts. Silly question, why don't you use an 88 key controller? Because I actually like the keyboard bed of the 61 better than the heavy 88 keyboard bed. So I don't want a weighted piano key I know there are 88 ones out there that also have a regular synth keypad instead of piano keypad. But that's not the complete control then. I actually like the complete control as it is as a controller. Very convenient and good integration and things like that. So that's why I use the 61. I just want to do some, let's switch the grid to 16th. And want to do some staccatos. So I'll actually bring the tempo up at this point to soft. So what I initially just wanted to talk about is what really cool is when you have the solo strings loaded as well, when you layer these. So when you, for example, just slam the solo strings on top of the other strings, and you have this combined sound. So it just gives more definition. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, back to topic. Question was, what is the difference between the short and long reverbs you have on the strings? It's no different. It's the same. It's just that I have two different reverbs, two different sends for the grouping, so that I can group long strings and short strings separate. And it's pretty much the same reverb, but for two groups. So these are the solo strings. I just started integrating some of the effect stuff, Symphobia and things like that. I want to do a bit more there. Still too loud. So, just tried closing the key edit window and paused the stream. I'm not sure what you're talking about right now. So back to showing all tracks. This was the strings, so much for it now. So pretty much Jaeger, Cinematic Studio Strings, Metropolis Arc, Sirius, solo strings, and a little bit of effects. There will be more, and I will talk about a little bit about stuff that you use that is not part of the template. For example, you have the Spitfire Audio EvoGrid series or something like that, and want to just use one patch for a track. I have this in my coupled instance of V Pro. We'll talk about that. For now, let's go on. Are you sending the short and long reverbs to another reverb also? No. I have the string shorts and the long strings, and the short strings go to the short string reverb, and the long string goes to the long string reverb, and they all are summed up finally in just one string bus. But I have the tier before that. I have long and short strings separated. So if I want to export long strings and short strings with reverb included, I can do this by having the reverbs separated. So close the, well, actually I have a button for this. So come on. There we go. Brass. So overall, pretty simple setup. Trailer brass for everything that needs bolts to the wall. Sound iron horn ensemble for chords. Works great in trailer productions. Talos legato horns. As you can hear, they're a bit to the right, which happens to work great when you have several horns, for example, and just want this larger-than-life sound. Shorts. bends. Then we have the trailer trombones. And then we have, so this is all music is sampling trailer brass. Is this template for a vast kind of genre, or is it just specified in one way? I try to have it as genre open as possible. I mean, I won't use this for EDM productions or hip-hop or whatever. But I was just trying out something like this kind of ethnic world style as I had in this example track. But yesterday evening I was doing something very different here. I mean, this is just a sketch, but just so you know, it's get a feel for a different vibe. Maybe close to the end, some basic of how you program the layout in TouchOC. I don't think that we can do this in today's stream. This is completely different topic. But thank you for the suggestion. I will try to keep that into another stream and do the TouchOC integration and the setup how it's done. So just as an example, so this is more like a film score type of stuff, and I actually want to do I actually want to write something with it, but I want to go through all the instruments beforehand. Obviously, this is a lot of stuff to go through in this template. So this is all the trailer brass pretty much. When I need to write big trailer cues, I rely mostly on these. So trailer horns, native instruments, horns for chords mainly. Talos horns, Talos low brass, the trailer low brass. That's pretty much it. Then we have the Jaeger stuff. So Jaeger brass, trumpets, of course. Then we have trombones. Like these a lot, and the tubas. Do the slight color variations in the template reflect different VE Pro instances? Pretty much yes. So if we take a look at VE Pro on my master machine here, we see that the strings are green, brass is yellow, percussion is this orangey blue, keys, synth, etc. is pink, and this goes throughout. Well, mostly not on the slave right now. But for example, on my strings on my first slave are green as well, brass is yellow again. So I try to keep it consistent with the colors to just makes it easy on the eye and faster to navigate. So that is Jaeger brass. And then obviously Cinematic Studio brass goes along with the Cinematic Studio strings. And it's just great to have choices there for sonic difference. So when you just compare, for example, the Jaeger horns So, and on these again, I have them set up with the expression maps. For example, here in the tuba. So then next one is again Metropolis Arc. And this is just Arc 1 that I have in here. So next would be Woodwinds, which is Berlin Woodwinds for me. Flutes. Going all the way down. What are your host and slave specs? You can scroll back the video. I talked about that in the beginning. But pretty much 64 gigs of RAM and 2 Intel cores on the slaves, and my master is a DAW Ryzen 1950X 16 core. But more details in the beginning of the stream. So then, so that's for the Woodwinds, at least for Berlin. So I don't have any ensembles in there. Percussion is a big part, obviously. So Ava hits. These are pretty much heavily processed to get rid of the low end. They are just supplemental hits for the organic percussion, like Metropolis Arc 3 and things like that. This is more trailer oriented, and this is actually the trailer mix. So the big percussion from Metropolis Arc. This is kind of a mixture of different instruments from the Metropolis Arc series just layered together. I just love the sound. And then we have the same for a little bit smaller percussion. And still love my ADO Epic Toms. Decimator snare. Give me a second, guys. So. Then we have sticks. It's pretty much the same patch, just different routing from VE Pro, so the snares have a different channel than the sticks. Spitfire cymbals. Slate drums. These are actually pre-mixed. So they return on various channels. Go percussion. So the slate drums come back here on different channels. Let me monitor this. So now when we go to these channels here, they return on individual tracks. I really like the sound of these. Especially in combination with the rest of the percussion. So when we, for example, solo the part that I had in the beginning here, just solo the percussion. I just think they sound great. That was bad playing right now. I didn't have a click and I have a little bit of a lag due to the streaming. I really like the sound. Going on, a little bit of loop-based stuff. Heaviosity ensemble drums. Having issues with CUBASE 7 and several instances of contact running, crashing, could be ASIO guard. I have no idea with CUBASE 7. Actually, ASIO guard should be there to protect you from crashing and overloads and things like that. But, well, in worst case, just switch it off and see if it works better. That's the only thing I can say there. So, some different stems, low, mid, high, from the Heaviosity ensemble drums and ensemble woodwinds. Sometimes loop-based stuff is just faster to work with. So when I solo that for the specific track that I've done yesterday, this is the loop content. So when I switch this off, this is the rest of the percussion. That's not loop-based. And when you combine these, it sounds pretty cool. Actually, what's happening? There we go. Together. So there we go. I talked about that before with V Pro. You have to disable ASIO guard, but actually you can do you can keep Cubase having the ASIO guard running. I have it at normal, but you need to go into the plugin manager, and under Vienna Ensemble Pro you need to switch off the ASIO guard for V Pro. That way you can kind of have the best of both worlds. What sort of low cut do you do on Heaviosity? Let's take a look. So this is the low channel. A low cut at 46 and a little bit of high cut for that stuff up there. And really only just the low rumble to get rid of this. On the second tier, I think I have pretty much the same as on the first one. No, well, low cut on 67. And on the high stem, low cut at 120. So that's it. Not much going on there. So that was Heaviosity Ensemble Woods and Ensemble Ethnic. Next would be World Percussion. This is a big chunk of the sound right now. This is Evolution World Percussion, and they have Africa, Mid East, Asia, South America, and Europe. Really, really great sounds in there. So Africa, let's take a look at some of these. Loving that. I can also have it with Say. And as mentioned before in the stream, this also is set up in a way that I can, this library specifically has 4 mic positions, and I can control them individually from the MIDI. So when I want more of a close sound, I can bring the room mics down. more of a close sound, or maybe I want them to be more far back. That way. So various ways of handling things there. I'm just bringing all the faders back to round about 100, so I get the actual sound that I had there. So yeah, Africa, tons of stuff here. That guy is a little bit loud. And by the way, Evolution World Percussion comes with tons of MIDI loops as well. So they sync to your host tempo and help you understand a little bit what kind of instruments and how they are played. There is something wrong here. The talking drum is 12 and this should actually be 13. Now we're talking. Safe. Yeah, sometimes you discover little mistakes like this. Going into the Middle East. MIDIs are accessible in the interface? No, they are not, but they have a there's a folder with the MIDIs in there as well, I think. So, tons of world percussion sounds here. Again, all single instrument is mic position controllable with just my MIDI faders here or my MIDI knobs. So this is pretty cool. And gives you tons of opportunities even within the same MIDI template and utilizing different sounds. Going into South American realms here. Which library are these sounds from? This is Evolution World Percussion. You can see this over here. Percussion, Africa Low. This is Evolution World Percussion. There we go. World Percussion 2.0 Evolution. Great library, in my opinion. So this is Europe. Cymbal rolls. Little library from Loops de la Creme. Great for do you have to use all chorus options selected within contact? Some people say one should use this, some say not. Good question. Let's take a look. I have no idea how I have to. I know that I have set up the core distribution in VE Pro itself. which says 4 threads per instance. This is what the slaves have set up as well. And Contact itself is set up in a way that multiprocessor support is enabled. Right now it's set to 12 cores here, although I have 16 on this system. Let me take a look how it's set up on the slave. So on the slave, the engine is also set to 12 cores. So I have no idea why I have it at 12, but overall it works. I think that's what it's all about. So then going on, we have some other percussion that's not the trailer epic. So this is kind of some more regular percussion stuff. And Metropolis Arc 2 booms and things like that. Bowed Metal, Cineperk. Metropolis Arc 3. That we have this here in the trailer section as well, but I didn't want to have them layered, just some of the ensembles. Some Taiko stuff from Metropolis Arc 3. You might be wondering, the timpani sounds a little bit strange, but this is also one thing I got from the mixing course that are linked below the video that I can only recommend from the bottom of my heart. It's just great. And one of the tips for trailer sound was actually to really push the timpani and bring it more into the low end instead of bring more into the high end instead of the low end. So they sound pretty strange on their own when you compare this and see it with the EQ. But in a mix, it works surprisingly well. So they sound really good in a mix. And don't take too much space in the low end. So just a tip there. So this is pretty much something that we will be doing a stream next week on, which is the Mallet Flux, the new one by Native Instruments and Sonoscores. How do you get good drums? I actually love it, and when I was talking about the Slate drums, I actually used their new Get Good Drums or GGD Grab and Smash. That's really great for drum processing. So awesome product. And I actually want to bring in the GGD. I have the Modern and Massive. I want to bring that into the template as well when I need to use it. Right now, I was good with the Slate drums. By the way, the Slate drums is Stephen Slate 5. So I like the sound as well. And yeah, GGD is a little bit more edgy, so when you really go into modern metal, GGD might be more suitable than the Slate ones. But this is not my modern metal template, right? Okay, so we were at Tune Percussion, Marimba. And actually there is one track missing. This is strange. That might be because I didn't save it. So I think we need to duplicate this, Send it to 6. And also need to tell the percussion that we have another track coming back. Yeah, I didn't save it. Damn it. So now you can see how that actually works when you set up an audio return from the Ensemble Pro. How this actually is done. So I was in the percussion. So let me bring that up. So, and here I just activated this return from VE Pro because I knew that I loaded the tubular belts there. So this is Cineperc tubular. This is the actual audio return from VE Pro. So first, this is tune percussion. So I'm going to send this to my first tier tuned percussion. Percussion tonal in that case. So, and also I give it a reverb here on the return to percussion tone reverb. And since this is further in the back, let's say at -8 or something like that. And now last thing to do is here on the actual MIDI channel to rename it. This is Cineperc tubular. And adjust the volume a little bit. Also, I can set up the routing here and see the actual channel. So can give it more reverb without going back to the actual audio return here. So I can get rid of this because I can access the audio return from the MIDI channel itself in Cubase, which is really handy. So back here, and I can see the direct routing, which output is used, and also access even the panning. So I keep it in center. So there we are, the tubular. Forgot that one, so let's save it. Next section will be everything ethnic. So there's a lot of Edo Auditory Lontis library in there. So there's some Celtic drums. Then we have Celtic era banjo. Then we have Persian era. Then somebody asked in the beginning for the track what is being utilized for this kind of Americana sound. So there's a bunch of stuff. This is the Delta Blues slide, an actually old library by Indigenous that I really love. There's a bunch of keys. Let me bring that up for a second. Actually a rather old library, but it sounds amazing. Delta Blues slide, there we go. You have a bunch of key switches for different articulations. When you hit harder, you get a downslide, so you can do these like. Wait. We do. And the cool thing is they have an M setting as well, which I redirected to my mic position setting. So I can use my mic position controller and change the sound completely. that back to acoustic. So, and when you do a little bit of programming and utilizing the key switch, it sounds pretty cool. And when I turn on the amp setting with a knob, so that's pretty cool. A nice instrument there. Then we have mounted Dulcimer. Although, honestly, just got me this guy. I could do this myself. So that's pretty cool. So when I need one, I can play it myself. Actually, really great instrument, and you can't play wrong. I love this. It's like $120 on Amazon. So if you don't play guitar, doesn't matter. Grab it. You can't go wrong with it. Nice little instrument. So then we have the Resonator, also indigenous. That offers a lot of functionality in terms of what you can tweak and a lot of key switches to make it sound more real. And this is something that you just gotta learn a little bit. By the way, the Dulcimer was also an old instrument by indigenous. Then we have the Resonator. So there's a lot of key switching going on. What I like about this, and we had this in the stream about the Celtic fiddle and things like that, they also have this harmonization feature. So when you hit the key switch down here, first you have upper range and lower range, so depending on the velocity. On the lower range you have the muted notes. And with a harmonization feature, you have a knob for the key that you're in. Well, that's pretty cool. And I have this one also set up in a way that I can switch on an amp. And I think CC22 again is in this case linked to, no, that's the wrong one, sorry. Slave 2, please. In this case is linked to, no, it's not. Should be, so that I can switch to the actual harmony on the fly depending on the cue. So let me just save this. And turn off the amp again. So, and for this specific track, it worked really great, the Resonator and the Delta Blue slide together. So that's that. Then we have the Orange Tree Samples Mandolin. I love this sound. It's a really great instrument. These are repetition keys. And this one also has a lot of great playing stability or features like true legato and things like that. And also this works great with these kind of instruments in the background when you combine this with the mandolin. So, and last but not least, this is not in this section, but actually down here in the guitars. I have a bunch of, and we were talking about this before. Some instruments require you to change them on a cue by cue basis. Pun intended there. So sometimes you like these Spitfire Evo grids, or in this case, the Native Instruments session guitarist that I use a lot because I just like the sound of it. And I have on my on my slave, I have an instance that is with this button here, that is not decoupled from Cubase, but it's coupled. That means it is pretty much the same as if I would be loading the instruments directly in Cubase. So everything that I change in here is saved in the project, and when I open up another project and change the patch here and then reopen the project from before, it loads the patch from the other project. That was kind of confusing, but I hope you get my point. So but since this is decoupled, since this is coupled with Cubase, this is like having the instruments inside your rack here, but it saves the processing power. So I have all my omnispheres and stuff like that. I have this in my coupled instance here. And that way, I also have the session strummer here. So I can change, when I do the next cue and want to use another rhythm, I can change it. And when I open up that cue again that was on before, then it changes back to the rhythm that it was for that project. So this is pretty cool. So we have the session strummer going as well. And this just sounds freaking great. And when you combine this with the other stuff, this is what you get in terms of the guitar department. Although I missed out on these here, so we also have the Celtic era banjo in the back, and I also utilized some of the strumming patterns from Celtic era, the bouzouki and the nylon, I think. So, and now all together, these strumming patterns and the strummer from Native Instruments all together look like this and sound like this. And by the way, of course, all these tracks are also processed, at least in a little bit. So the session strings, for example, just have a look at the EQ. So this is solo. This is what it sounds like out of the box. And this is what it sounds like with the EQ. There was some nasal frequency here. And a little bit getting rid of the pleck sound on the strings. So this is pretty cool. On Delta Blues, there is a compressor to get a little bit up front. And then again, just a little bit getting rid of low end and a little bit of high end. So on Dulcimer, nothing major going on here, just to get rid a little bit of the actual plucking frequency, but this happens when you actually record it live as well. This is just a very nasty frequency over there. Resonator Guitar again has a little bit of compression. Actually, this is kind of the compression will need to go before the amp if I want to use the amp. And if I would use the amp, I would obviously need to EQ differently, but was just a spike there that I took care of a little bit. Mandolin, again, just a little bit of compression, a little bit of EQ, and even a little bit more to get rid of the stuff that we don't need. I mean, there's nothing really happening there. It's just getting a little bit rid of the low end and again, a little bit of the high energy there. By the way, we have a hammered dulcimer. So I want to expand on this ethnic part a little bit in the future and load more stuff. Do you always cut out the low end on any instrument which isn't considered to be a low instrument? Yes, pretty much. Because why should there be low end for an instrument that doesn't need low end? When you have like so many tracks going on, it just adds up and just makes everything rumbly and mushy. So that way you can clean it up. So next we have the ethnic winds. Again, a lot of Eduardo's stuff, Celtic era. Could you please show your instruments rack in this template project and how much Pro plugins you use simultaneously in one project and how much contact instance does work in one project? So my rack is pretty much just 2, 4, 6, 8 instances of Pro. When you scroll back or look to the video later on, I look at all the templates and how it's all the slaves and machines and how it's distributed. So the load is kind of separate between my master machine, my laptop slave, and my old PC slave. They all have 64 gigs of RAM and utilizing about half of it. I haven't counted the contact instances within Pro, but I mean, go figure. Sometimes I use 8, 9, 10 channels of a contact instance. Sometimes I use just one per instrument. I don't really care so much how many contact instances I need to run because I just run them. So it just works. I don't need to worry about that. So, going on, we have the Celtic. This is Dark Era, which we did the stream a few weeks ago. I will do a video and tutorial on Touch OC. So that's the Dark Era stuff. Suddenly my stream is very bad. So, okay, back to 144. Good question. How are you processing the Celtic era lips? Is that the engine reverb has the ability improved? Yes, it has. Actually, I'm using the internal reverb plus the reverb that I feel is needed on top. So it's just a little bit. So for example, the Percussion era duduk. When I switch off the reverb internally. Actually, this is wrong. This is Percussion era woodwind. Sorry, I need to fix that. Go back to there, go to Percussion era woodwind and switch that off. So this is with the internal reverb on Percussion era. So that would be just dry. And I turn on the reverb in the instrument and also have a little bit of reverb. Sorry if we already covered this, but what kind of drive? Pretty much all the drives are SSDs in one way or another. So nothing is running off HDDs, it's all SSDs. So then we have the ethnic strings. Celtic era fiddle rhythms. We had all the stuff in Dark era. Then we have era 2, Ancient era.